Hey everyone, it's Mike Huber here. Great to have you on as usual. Thanks for listening. Um, up to this point, we've recorded almost 30 episodes, and to all of you listeners who have been following from the beginning, thank you so much for listening. If you're listening for the first time today, thank you so much. Um, I love what I do as a mental performance coach, but as particularly as a podcast host, getting to talk to some really cool and interesting people about the transition from high school to college athletics. And I could do that with nobody listening, but it's a lot better to share it with others. So if you're listening, first and foremost, I want to say thank you. This episode of the podcast is quite different than normal. I'm usually on here interviewing some really cool and interesting folks about their experiences in the transition from high school to college athletics. And just as you know, athletes and professionals in general. I just learn so much from the people who come on to the show. And typically I'm asking them a lot of questions because frankly, I do the podcast out of sheer curiosity about this particular life transition and what it means to people and how they navigate it and sort of hopefully bringing some insight to the people who listen um, on how they can improve their transition from high school to college as well. And certainly from college to out of college, right? To being an athlete, to being a non-athlete, maybe being a working professional. So there's a lot of different applications of what we talk about, but it's usually me asking the questions. And one of the things that I really want to be intentional about is making sure that those people who are listening, even though it's maybe 30 episodes or so too late, to let everybody know what I'm all about. So I am a mental performance coach, certified mental performance consultant with a master's degree in sports psychology. And my primary work is helping athletes be their best, perform at their best using mental skills and tools that, I teach to them. And I got into the field because I wanted to help other people be their best. And I love sports, and that was a natural combination for me. But really, it's more about helping people. And so I wanted to share that with the people who listen because I'm not sure that it's been very clear who I am or what I stand for. And more specifically, I wanted to get into what my core values are as a mental performance coach, right? And so there are five guiding values that I try to live by every single day in my work and in my life to a certain extent, um, to live by those values so that there's not a lot of variability in how I behave and why I do what I do. And hopefully it's helpful for you to hear from me, what it is that I stand for and what's important. So with that, here it goes. So first and foremost for me, I want to put the person before the performer. And what I mean by that is all of us has all of us have multiple facets to our identity, right? And we talk about this a lot on the podcast. I talk a lot about this a lot in my work. We're athletes, and usually that's sort of the biggest piece of our identity because of the time, effort, and energy we put into our work as athletes and what it means to us and how important it is to perform well, not only for ourselves, but sometimes for other people. But at the same time, distorting the importance of the athlete over other elements of our person can be really challenging. And so, as a coach, I want to make sure that I'm really meeting my clients where they're at and understanding them as people. And that I care about them as a person first, regardless of their performance. And if they're able to improve their performance because of the work that we do together, that's ideal. But if they don't, I want them to understand that I've got their back no matter what, and that I see them for all that they are and not just an athlete. So that's sort of the first thing, that's really important to me. Second, my second value is intent is greater than content. So what does that mean? Um, you know, every mental performance coach has a different philosophy of practice, does things a different way, but ultimately we're all taught the same skills, right? We're taught how to help an athlete build goals, talk to themselves, do imagery, meditate, right? There's different variations on the theme, but basically we're all taught the same thing. And so for me, I've always thought about what differentiates me as a coach. And to me, it's not only who I am as a person, but why I'm here to help them. Like, what am I doing this for? I want them to understand that my intent is to help them get better. And it's not about doing it with a system or through a pride of ownership or my ego getting in the way. It's I'm here to help you. And whatever it takes to do that, that's my goal. And if that means that I need to do things differently because what I'm helping you or helping you to do isn't working, then I want to know about it. Um, and I want to make sure that you're getting whatever you need out of this. And so I want you to know as a client that my intention is to make sure you get better. And it's not about me, as much as it can not be about me. Third is positivity, but I think, it's a better way to put my core value in this respect is that I'm strengths based. So what does that mean in the context of mental performance coaching? I think we tend to look at it's only natural to look at an athlete and say, what are the deficiencies? We come to coaching because we want to get better at something we don't do well. In the mental game, a lot of times it's I want to be more confident or I want to have better focus. Um, and certainly that's part of what we do. We want our athletes to improve and develop in those areas of deficiency to become better athletes. But at the same time, I try to focus on the positive, the good. What are they good at? What are you good at? What do you do well? How do we build off of that? How do I emphasize the strengths that you have to help you be better at what you don't do well? How do I make you feel better about yourself so you're more confident in addressing your deficiencies and not focusing on them? And that's something I try to come from that place of, hey, give yourself some credit and treat yourself with some respect and know that you do much better, much more good than harm. Because I think one of the things I see in my athletes across the board is some level of perfectionism. The instinct is always to criticize the negative, the mistakes, um, and that's the vast minority of an athlete's performance are those mistakes. And there's a lot more good things that athletes do than bad, but they take those for granted and say, I should do that. And I hate that word should. So I want to be positive and I want to focus on their strengths so then we can address the deficiencies in a healthy way. Fourth core value is accountability. I personally pride myself on being accountable to myself and others. I want to take I always or I try always try. Maybe I don't always do it on first try, but I always try to take responsibility when I make a mistake. And in this context, sometimes I suggest things to my clients to do or give them advice that's faulty. It's not the right advice. It's not that it's not without good intent and it's based upon what I know, but sometimes things just don't work. And if I ask my athlete, my client to do something that doesn't work and they're not getting the results, well, then it's on me to take responsibility and say, you know what, I could have done a better job or let me come up with something different. Because again, it's not about me or my ego. It's about me doing the best for my client. And sometimes that means just setting the example and saying, hey, you know what? I need to be better and I'm going to go be better and I'm going to try to do everything I can to help you. And I want my athletes to do the same. They come to me for help, but they want to perform their best. I'm not with them. I'm with them a very small part of the time. If it's 45 minutes a week, a lot of times it's a lot. And so the other 167 hours and 15 minutes, they're on their own and they need to hold themselves to account. When they come back to me and they don't do something that I asked them to do, I don't get mad. I don't get upset, but I let them know there are consequences. I want them to be accountable to themselves because they're here for a reason. And I think it's really important that I demonstrate that. I model that for my athletes because accountability is critical. Otherwise, we just start to make excuses about what we can and can't do. And then finally, for me, the last part, and maybe the most important, is authenticity. I got to be myself. I got to be totally forthcoming about who I am, transparent. Sometimes I'm too forthcoming. I disclose too much about myself, and that could sort of blur a line. But I'm a big believer in that, if I'm asking somebody to open up to me and be honest with me and trust me, then sometimes I've got to give that first to give them permission to open up. And I'm willing to share my experiences and my point of view and some personal things about myself that maybe I don't need to share, but I feel like they open the door. And to me, I want to be an example to my athletes that it's okay to be vulnerable and to be yourself and not try to paint a picture for somebody else that's artificial just so you think they're going to like you or they're going to judge you as being, good or special or something. I'm going to be really honest and take responsibility for myself and just show who I am. So that's really important. I mean, at the end of the day, the takeaway is that, when I get into a coaching relationship with anybody, whether they're 9, which is my youngest client, or they're college age, which is my oldest client, I'm meeting them where they're at and I'm putting them first and I'm trying to do everything I can to help them be better, not only as a performer, but as a person, and that I really genuinely care about their well-being. And if I can't help them, it's up to me to hold myself accountable to say, I can't help you anymore, or I'm not able to help you and I need to point you in a direction where somebody else can help you. It's not about me. If I can bring value and do my job well, then great. That's I think there is a lot of value in what I do, and I wouldn't do what I do if I didn't believe in it. But at the same time, I also know my limitations. So that's basically what I wanted to get across. And the next time if you listen to a podcast, know that my questioning and the guests that I bring on and the topics that we raise are all coming from the foundation of these core values to understand people at a deeper level and why they do what they do and what makes them tick and how they cope with these situations so we could pass it on to other people. And hopefully that's helpful. So that's really all I got. Thank you for listening as usual. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.